Hi, friends, and welcome back to Beyond the Classroom. I'm your host, Lisa Harding, and today I'm bringing you an incredible conversation that will open your eyes to an equally incredible career path outside the classroom. One thing I say all the time is that teachers have so many transferable skills that are incredibly valuable in roles beyond the classroom. And today we're diving into one of those roles that many teachers are perfectly aligned for. Let's dive in. I'm Lisa Harding, ex-EdTech CEO turned certified teacher career coach. It wasn't all that long ago that I was recruiting, interviewing, and hiring teachers for roles in corporate America. Teachers that ended up being some of my all-time best employees. Fast forward through my own career transition, where I left my role as CEO to become a stay-at-home mom, I now work with and empower teachers to transform their lives by turning their once distant career dreams into realities. In this podcast, I give you simple, actionable, step-by-step strategies to help you do the same. If you're a burnt-out teacher or simply need a change and you're looking to create a life you love, you're in the right place, friend. Let's get started. All right, everyone, I am so excited to introduce our guest today, Miss Estruch. Welcome.
Hi there, and thank you for having me. And it's such a pleasure to be on the show, all the way over in America as well, because I'm based in London in the UK.
Yeah, and I love that I know we have an international audience on the podcast, and now we can say we have international guests. And I think a lot of your story translates no matter where you are in the world and in your career journey. So we know you're based in the UK, but tell us a little bit about what you were doing when you were in the classroom and a little bit about your transition, and then we'll jump into all the good stuff.
Okay, so I have been teaching since I left university, which was back in 2008, and then I did my teacher training in 2009, and I've taught across the country in the UK, and I teach biology, so secondary school biology, which is like your high school biology, and in particular I focus on A-level, which is the equivalent of AP biology. I was then head of the department in school. But then when it got to about 2019, I was loving traveling, but I just felt there was such limited flexibility with, yes, obviously it's amazing as teachers, you get loads of holiday compared to other jobs, but it's you have to take it at this time. Prices are extortionate to go on holiday. Different family members were getting married and it was becoming really difficult for me to get to the wedding if it was midweek. So I started to look for options of, number one, to earn more money, to travel more, and thinking long term, is there anything I could do to get a bit more freedom? So I actually started my YouTube channel back in 2019. And at that point, it was just for my school students as a way to give them a resource that I knew they could trust to use for homework, rather than just saying, use this online, and then I would have to vet everything and check it was okay first. So that's what I started it for. But then COVID hit, pandemic hit, schools shut in March in the UK, and we were all told as teachers, you now have to teach online. And at this stage, that was something that no one had ever done before in school. So there were no provisions. So until schools managed to buy in different programs to do this and learn to use it, we probably had about a month window where it was just teachers sending emails and saying, watch this YouTube video. And because I had just started my YouTube video in 2019 and no one else was really doing anything for A-level biology, I saw this sudden increase in views because people must be sending their students to watch my videos. And at the same time, I was working from home. Teaching was very limited because we didn't have the resources. So I thought, I'm absolutely going to jump on this wave and pump out as many videos as I can to get the entire course on there as soon as possible. I also found out in March 2020 I was pregnant with twins. So I then set myself the deadline of get everything up and ready before they're born. And that's also then when I started to change what my end goals might be, rather than it just being, I want more money to travel and maybe this option of being more flexible if I leave teaching. Priorities then changed. And I thought, right, it's not just one baby, it's two babies at the same time. I definitely want to have a bit more money and flexibility to cope with this. And that's when I actually completely changed my mindset around what this would be for me. And I wanted it to be, I want this as a route to get out of the classroom and have my own business, so I'm completely in control. So I like made use of my maternity leave. Obviously, spent it with my children, but it was a very bizarre maternity leave because it was lockdown and my partner was still working and I wasn't. So I was doing 14 hours a day in lockdown, just me with two twin babies. No one was
Oh,
allowed to visit, no family. And it was such a bizarre time that I needed something to kind of ground me to my old life and normality. So I started to make biology resources as well when the boys were sleeping as something I could sell, but also it did actually just help me feel a bit more normal. And that's when I started to then crunch the numbers and see how many notes would I need to sell? How many views would I need to get on YouTube to earn the equivalent of what I get as a classroom teacher? So then I could leave the classroom. Oh, sorry, that's popping off there. I'll just say that bit again. See how much I could actually earn so I could then leave the classroom. And that's when I realized by 2021, I was actually earning enough, but I didn't leave the classroom until September this year. So I officially left the classroom this year in 2024. And this has been my first academic year fully in my business, creating content on YouTube, creating resources, lessons, courses for students, but I now also do it for teachers as well. So I create entire ready to use lessons for teachers as well. So yeah, I was going to say in a nutshell, it's quite a long story, but that's pretty much been my journey to date.
that is amazing, and kudos to you for surviving.
Yeah.
Um, being a new mother, were you a first time mom as well, or? Okay,
Yeah.
so first time mom, twins, pandemic, lockdown, and starting your own business. If you have survived that, I'm pretty sure you can take on anything. So that's incredible. I'm curious. Um, so in the US, there truly is this wave, this huge wave of teachers leaving the profession. I mean, it is felt in every state over here. Some states more than others. But is that similar in the UK? Like, is there this wave of teachers leaving in the UK too, or are you kind of a lone wolf in this?
I think it is, but again, it could just be perception because of the people I know and people that I follow. But I am seeing more people wanting to take this leap. And I think it's a mixture of post pandemic, some careers have now become more flexible because we realized you didn't have to be in the office. The world still worked, business actually became more productive. But the teaching profession has stayed as rigid as it ever has. I don't know what it's like with your government, but with our government, money is very, very tight, and the money isn't going into education to match the increase in needs. So we felt as a profession that we were getting less flexibility. We weren't getting pay increases. What we were being asked to do was more and more, and it just created a stressful environment. So everyone in schools was more stressed, and I have seen this bigger wave of people leaving as they see more and more teachers able to use their skills transferably, either to do something like me or something completely different, but using skills that you have as a teacher and realizing, oh, you actually get a bit more flexibility and more money and less stress. So there has been a bigger increase. I don't know how big it is as an actual number, but I've definitely noticed it here as well.
Awesome. Yeah, that it's interesting just to hear like trends kind of across the pond and see what's happening in education all around the world. And I think we're really kind of focusing in on one thing. Like the pandemic definitely was a jumping point or a jump or a like a wake up call for lots of different reasons. And how amazing that it was really like the universe coming together for you. You had already had the YouTube channel up, you jumped on the train. And I think part of entrepreneurship is, following your passions and seeing an opportunity that will excite you where you can bring value. And you definitely have done that. But entrepreneurship is very scary as well. And I know there's a lot of teachers out there, and we've had other entrepreneurs on the podcast as well. Um, and it sounds like for you, you kind of were planning this alongside of your job for a little bit. Maybe dig into a little bit more of like the fears of entrepreneurship, kind of how you planned that out. Like, when did you know that you were good to make the switch? And maybe talk about that aspect of becoming an entrepreneur.
It did take me a long time because I was very fearful of going from being in a secure employment job to out on your own. And like I said, probably by 2021, I was earning the equivalent, but I didn't leave until 2024. So it took me 3 years to get the courage to do it. And part of it was I wanted to be more than just equivalent. I wanted to make sure that I could see consistently for a year I was making the same as I was as a teacher. And in fact, it ended up being significantly more in the end. So there was that side of it. I wanted to see long term, did it actually stick? Was I continue making the money? Because if I became self-employed, if the money dried up, that's it. You don't have a salary, you're responsible for it. So there was partly that side of it. Another big reason for me was, would I become irrelevant? Because I knew that people trusted me because I was a current classroom teacher, and other YouTubers were maybe students at university or didn't have the same qualification or experience. So I was worried, would people not like my content or trust it if I couldn't say I was a teacher anymore, which absolutely hasn't been the case, but that was one of my fears. And then the other things were around, well, I'd have to organise my own pension. I had my parents in my ears saying, oh, what happens if it all goes wrong though? And you don't have a secure salary. And it was actually my other friend who is also an entrepreneur. She was the one saying to me, well, let's say worst case scenario, that did all happen. You would just go back and get a teaching job and you'd be absolutely fine. So take the leap, take the jump. You're always going to get a job as a teacher. There isn't actually a downside to this. And there was also, I do love teaching and being in the classroom and having that relationship with students that you build up over the year. And I did worry, am I going to miss that? And also I was worried, am I going to get quite lonely? Because it's a very social job, teaching. You see hundreds of people every day, whether it's students, staff, you're basically talking the whole day. And then I realized I'm going to be working in my flat by myself, not seeing anyone. Is that going to be too much for me? So those are like the things that I was pondering and worrying about. And in reality, none of that has been an issue. I haven't felt lonely, haven't felt bored, because I do things like meet up and do one working day a fortnight with a friend in a cafe. And also because I tutor people online. Yes, it's not face-to-face in person, but you still get to build up those relationships, talking to people. And I haven't been exhausted and stressed. So it's definitely been a payoff.
Oh, well, the fact that you're not exhausted and stressed with twins who are now probably what, like 6 or 7 or
4 now. So they're
4?
4,
Okay,
5
4.
September.
Okay, 4. Yeah. So you are in busy season and it seems like you are thriving still through all of that. And I love that you bring up these different fears. And I think there's unique fears that come with entrepreneurship. But I think the bigger picture is, I mean, any career change is going to come with fears and what we kind of call like limiting mindsets, things that might be holding us back. And I love that you addressed those and, you surrounded yourself, with friends or encouragement, and now you're on the other side of it. And now you can look back and say, well, that was a fear at the time, but it's not really like, it didn't actually come to fruition that way. And I think that's a really great lesson. Even for the teachers who aren't going to go into entrepreneurship, still have those limiting mindsets and things that they, are fearful of. And also you can always go back into the classroom. That will always be there for you. Hey teachers, quick break in the podcast because I have something truly special for you. The Teacher Career Transition Summit is a free virtual event packed with expert advice, real success stories, and step-by-step guidance to help you explore new careers and land a job you love. It's happening on Saturday, June 14th. So if you're hearing this before then, go grab your free ticket. And if it's already passed, no worries. You can access the full replays or join a waitlist for the next one. Head on over to our website, teachercareertransitionacademy.com/summit to check out what's available now. And back to the podcast. All right, so let's talk a little bit about your business. So it's the podcast or it's the YouTube channel, and then you started making resources. How do you sell those? Who do you sell those to? Is it money that's generated from YouTube, or are you doing transactions? Tell us a little bit about the business side of it.
So at the moment, I'd say, well, I have multiple revenue streams, but the big five categories are live masterclasses. And I basically sell people a link to the Zoom meeting. So you get the link to the Zoom meeting and a Google Drive link with maybe the PowerPoint slides, and they can attend a live revision session. So live masterclasses is one. Those are quite seasonal though, because it might be around Christmas when they have mock exams, or right now in the summer, just before their final exams. Those are really popular, but it's mainly at just those two times of the year.
And
The
those are
second,
for students? The students come or teachers come? Students? Okay.
that's actually a good point because they are aimed at students, but I have had a few teachers attend who have then messaged me afterwards saying, oh, I actually attended it because I'm about to teach this for the first time and I wanted to see how you teach it and I wanted to see your resources and it was really helpful. So they are aimed at the students,
Okay.
small number of teachers, and also parents. I've had parents come along because they want to
Okay.
know how to teach their students.
And so those like test prep?
Yeah, pretty much. So it's mainly going through the hardest topics, exam technique, exam questions, but yes, all preparing them for their final exams, basically.
Okay. All right. So that's category one.
One. Number two is I actually have a membership as well. So they can pay monthly to be in my membership, which is the Biology Study Club. And within that, they get weekly live lessons. There's also an app so they can chat in the community amongst themselves or with me. They get access to me marking their work. They get some of my resources included. They get mock exams. So it's basically, instead of having a tutor, it's a group tuition. So it's more affordable than one-to-one tuition. And for me, I can do one-to-many rather than one-to-one. So it's more money for me. So that's like basically my little school online for A-level biology students. So that's the second thing. The third one covers like a big area, and that's my digital products, which is anything that they can download. So I've got PDF notes instead of a textbook, PDF flashcards, workbooks, basically everything they would need to learn A-level biology, they can pay and download. So I have that. And that's probably where I get, well, I was going to say most of my money, but that's probably because it's so many different things. But that's probably the biggest thing I'm known for is my digital products, in particular my notes. Number four is YouTube. So I do get a big chunk of my income from the ad revenue from YouTube. But I predominantly use YouTube to advertise myself because everything is for free on YouTube, but I will show my notes or I'll talk about my notes or advertise my masterclass you might want to come to. And it's basically social proof. I just say, like, if you like the way I'm teaching here, then you are going to like my notes, you're going to like this. So YouTube predominantly was just as a way to have free advertising, but also I get paid by advertisers who advertise on YouTube. And then, yeah, the last one is I do some one-to-one tuition online. That is very, very limited now. I used to mainly do that, but because I'm quite limited with childcare when I'm looking after my children, because I'm not actually with their father, we co-parent, so it's very difficult to make sure when I've got them, I'm not going to be doing any work. And that's normally when people want tuition because they want it in the evening. I'm not free in the evening. So I decided to completely withdraw on the one-to-one. But because I did that, I just upped my prices. And
Yeah.
I think what my friend calls, I mean, she's got a rather rude term for it, so I won't say that, but it's the basically the price you give people where it's like, I don't want to do this, but if you're willing to pay that fee, I will do it. I just whack up the price, and not many people go. Well, a lot of people do sign up for the waiting list. Not many people actually do. So I only choose maybe 2 or 3 people a year. But around exam season, I open it up to a few more. But yeah, those are my 5 mainstreams. And within like the digital products, that does also include the teacher resources as well. So selling the PowerPoints and things like that.
Well, that's amazing. It has truly grown. It's, I would say, more than a business. It sounds like an empire that you're building, and very successfully, might I add. One thing that I think is interesting is, this is a very niche. It's A level biology, and so I think any teacher in any field could really do what you're doing with their passion, and that there are many opportunities to build your own business using your passion for education, niching down into a very specific area, and just serving the audience that you are most passionate about. And so I love that. Are you doing this all yourself? Do you have a team now? Like, I mean, this is a lot of work that I'm looking at.
I do have a team now. So I have a editor for all of my YouTube videos and for my teacher podcast, because I stream that on YouTube and also on podcast. So I have one editor who does all of that. Within my membership, two teachers I used to work with, I pay them to teach some of the lessons. So it's not just me. And because I've worked with them, I fully trust them and know they are amazing teachers. And then I also have I don't even know what to call her, because personal assistant or virtual assistant completely undersells just how much value she brings to the business. Because yes, she helps schedule and plan all social media, but she also does everything on my website. So my website, she completely designed and created. She sets up all of the products, all of the masterclasses, the funnels, the email marketing. So she does absolutely loads. And from time to time, I have also paid teachers to help me make some of my teacher resources to get it out quicker. And I've actually paid students as well, once they finish their A levels, to help proof my resources. And also, I am no good at art. So I opened it up to my students last year that I wanted one of them to be the artist for all of my GCSE resource, like one of the notes I was going to make, because I thought they are going to be so creative and they know biology because they are learning it. They'd be the perfect people. And I'd like to actually give the students a job, because it can be really hard for them to get jobs. So yes, time to time, I've got students to do little contract jobs for me as well.
That's amazing. And I mean, if you're listening into this and you're, even considering becoming an entrepreneur, starting your business, like we're talking about things that, Katie's doing here years later. And this all kind of builds. You don't have to be worrying about hiring people and doing all this. But what I love is that it started small, and now we've gotten to see where you have grown it. And that's just truly amazing. And also that a teacher could, like you, do this on the side. You could start this on the side, which I know is not easy, and not everyone, can fit that in. But I have to think a new mom with twins, if she was able to do it, I'd have to think that if you really wanted to do this, anyone could like really make this work. What else should an aspiring entrepreneur, teacher turned entrepreneur, be thinking about when they're determining, like, maybe they want to become an entrepreneur? What else should they be thinking about?
I think it kind of goes back to what you were just saying there, that anyone can do it, but you have to be prepared that it's not going to happen overnight. We're talking about 6 years worth of work for me now. And the first 3 years was completely running it by myself. And I did work every evening and every school holiday. Like, I worked to the point of like potential burnout, and I wouldn't recommend that. But if you are willing to stick at it and realize it's not going to be an overnight success, but if you keep working at it, it will end up as something. I do think anyone can do it if they are committed, willing to put in the work and dedicated. Just don't give up, and you will be able to achieve it. So if anyone is considering it, the main thing I would say is you need to realize it is a long-term thing to achieve. You will have to put in the hours. There will be setbacks. And if you are willing to accept that along the way, and like you said, have that open mindset, then you will get there. And that's kind of what I'm experiencing again now with my Miss Estruch Teach and Tell, because I've only just started that a year ago. So I feel like I'm right back at the beginning now, with a few hundred people know about me on YouTube and maybe 1,000 on Instagram, compared to like hundreds of thousands for my other business. And it's a bit like, oh, I've got to go back to that mindset of every subscriber counts. This is amazing. Every small sale matters, and it will just take time to build up an audience that knows you. And it just takes time, and accepting that, and not being disheartened or disappointed, and not comparing yourself to others. That is huge. Compare yourself to your own progress, not to other people, because you don't know what their context, timeline, resources, and so on are. So those are the key things I'd say. Thinking about the mindset.
That's amazing advice. Great advice. And as an entrepreneur myself, I'm going to be taking that to heart as well. It's definitely, yes, it's definitely not for the weak of heart. Entrepreneurship, we'll say that. It can be its own emotional roller coaster. And I know, just leaving the classroom can be emotional as well. I know when we work with teachers here at the Academy, there's often like a lot of guilt around leaving. Did you go through anything like that?
I didn't when I finally left, but that was a big reason why I struggled to leave, was the guilt of me leaving the students, some of whom were going to be leaving that year anyway because they were moving on, but some of my classes I was now leaving. And I also had this feeling of, well, I'm saying that there's issues with the education system, we're losing good teachers, but now I'm making it worse because I am one of those teachers that is leaving. But the way I came to terms with it is first of all, no one is irreplaceable. I might feel like, oh, but how will they survive without me? They will survive without you. And when I went on maternity leave, that was a bit of a wake-up call of, oh, look, you weren't there for a year. And the world carried on turning. They were fine. So that's what I kept reminding myself of. They will be able to replace you. It'll be absolutely fine. So the students aren't going to suffer. They might be temporarily sad, but they'll be over it within a few weeks and they have a new teacher. And in terms of the education system, for me, it's like, well, I'm probably actually serving more students now than I ever was in the classroom. So that helped me a lot with any feelings of guilt that I had.
Yeah, those are all really good points. And thanks kind of for talking us through that, because I know a lot of teachers kind of go through that as well. As we close up, thank you so much for sharing some of the inner workings of your business, how you got to where you are, and kind of how you process the transition. I'd love to share some information about how our audience can connect with you. So you want to tell us a little bit about like your newest program, or what teachers can share about you? I know some of my audience is leaving, but they know lots of folks that are still in the classroom. How can we learn more about what you're doing?
Well, I'd say three main things. I've got Instagram, YouTube, and my website, but all of them are Miss Estruch Teach and Tell. So just look for Miss Estruch Teach and Tell, and you'll be able to find either my podcast, Instagram page, or my website. And even if you are thinking about leaving, my podcast does have a mix of how to support you in the lessons, but I have actually done a few on side hustles and how I managed to do what I've done, and if you want to, what you could do as well. So hopefully it worked for whatever stage you're at in terms of your thought process around it.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. What a great story, engaging energy, and can't wait to talk to you soon.
Thank you for having me. Bye.
Everyone out there today, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Beyond the Classroom. If you enjoyed this conversation, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and please leave us a review. And if you know a teacher who might benefit from today's discussion, please feel free to share this episode with them. Make sure that you check out the description for links to all of the resources that were mentioned. Remember, friends, the journey is just the beginning, so embrace the adventure.